Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be doing a model Q&A, FAQ, whatever. I get quite a bit of questions regarding modeling and how to get started with it and everything to do. Obviously, Ari is here with me. She's full of energy, so she needed to chill out. I don't know what she's staring at. I think there's a ghost. But I do have a few questions regarding modeling that I get kind of pretty often. What are you staring at? You're freaking me out. Alright. But I do get a few questions repeatedly when I'm on social media, and a lot of people reach out to me when they either just got into modeling or they are trying to get into it, they're interested in it. And I thought I would kind of just put them all in one video since I get them so often. What are you doing? I love you too, baby. So I have compiled a few of them. If I miss anything and there's more questions you have regarding getting a modeling career going, just put the questions in the comments and I will try to answer them for that as well. First question I have is, why did you become a model? And I have said this in a few previous like Q&A videos for my monthly videos and everything, but my mom actually always kind of wanted me to be a model, and that was always kind of like a goal that she was always like, you should really do this, you would be great at it. Do you want to get down? Go lay down. She's in a mood right now. But yeah, my mom always wanted me to kind of get it going and get into it. What are you doing? Is there a ghost? What are you doing? Stop. Sorry, okay. That's nothing. That's paint. I don't know what she's doing. I'm just gonna let her do her own thing. But yeah, my mom always wanted me to get into modeling, and pretty much after she passed, unfortunately, I decided to try to give it a try since I never really did it while she was alive, and I found out that I actually really love it. It's a creative outlet for me, and I like collaborating with different photographers, makeup artists, and different people to create this piece of art that's different and share ideas and everything. And it's always been a really great outlet for me. So that's why I initially started it. Uh, how did you get started? Well, it's kind of interesting, but pretty much I initially tried doing the whole like America's Next Top Model thing, but back in the day when I first started, you had to be at least 5'7", and I am not at all. I am 5'4" on a good day, so I went to go there and I'm like, oh, well, maybe if I just at least get in there, then they'll consider me or something. Nope, I got turned away at the door. They were like, you're not 5'7", go away. So I never even got to go into like an audition or anything. And I know in recent seasons, like they made it so that you can be shorter or whatever age or whatever, but I just never felt the need to go back after that. But how I personally got started was there's a website that is called Model Mayhem, and I always recommend it to people. It's pretty much kind of like a MySpace, Facebook sort of deal for models, photographers, fashion designers, makeup artists, pretty much anything you can think of that would be in the field, that they can create profiles and show what they do and show previous work that they've done and kind of what they're looking to do in the future. And it's a really cool website if you use it properly, and you can post out there like, hey, I'm going to be in this city coming up, and I want to know if there's anyone who wants to collaborate and work together to do a photo shoot. or you can see if someone in your area is looking to hire a model or just work with someone different. And it's a really great place to kind of get to know who's in your area that is willing to participate with new people or people who've been experienced for a while. And it's just a really great resource, I think, when you create a profile on there. I know the minimum they require is 4 photos to create a profile, and you kind of have to say, like, if you're a model, a photographer, I think you have to create a separate profile if you are like different things. Like, I know a couple people who will also do makeup, and they'll have a page for themselves as a makeup artist and then have a separate one for them to be a model. So it really just depends on what you want to do and how you want to get out there. I created a profile on that and started reaching out to pretty much everyone that was in my area that they had a good portfolio going and they had ideas listed on their profile that I was like, yeah, that sounds really cool. I want to try to work on that. And I pretty much just started networking from there and getting used to working with people and trying to build my portfolio up. And now that I have my portfolio up, I'm able to be more selective with who I want to work with and what kind of projects I want to do because my portfolio, I think, is pretty substantial now. But when you just get started, there's so many things that you want to do. It's all completely fresh and new, and you're like, I need to get this, I need to do this, I need to work with this person because I haven't before, I want to play with makeup, I want to play with hair and everything. So you really want to get yourself out there and build your portfolio to make it pretty substantial so that people will consider you for more projects. How do I find a photographer? There are groups on Facebook that you can also be a part of and you can join and you can interact with people that way as well. But if you are looking for a photographer through the actual website that I mentioned, modelmayhem.com, and I'm not like, they're not paying me or sponsored or anything. It's literally just the main resource that I used to get started. But you can create a post and say like, hey, I'm available to do photo shoots in this area. If you're interested, send me a message, and then that way you can look at their portfolio and see what kind of previous work they've done, what they're interested in doing. Or you can actually just do a search in your area that's pretty much just saying like photographers within a 10-mile radius or 50-mile radius to whatever city you're in, and it'll let you know everyone who's been on like within the last like 120 or 90 days or something like that that are in your area. And that way, since they've been on pretty recently, they would be more likely to respond to any messages that you send to them. So that is a way that you can look for photographers, or like I said, there are Facebook groups that are for modeling, photographers, like creative professionals, that sort of thing. And you can find tons of groups like that, but I like using the website more because you can actually see people's portfolios and description of everything, whereas on Facebook, it's mostly like people's personal accounts, and then you have to ask them for like links to their websites and their actual public accounts and everything, and that generally takes a lot more time that people generally don't have. Uh, Tips for safe meetings. So, meeting anyone off the internet in general is kind of a sketchy encounter. Like, you hear about all these, like, Craigslist and, like, To Catch a Predator, Catfish, and all these sort of things. So, you really have to be safe when you want to meet someone online in general, and even more so kind of for like modeling projects, because some projects there are for nude or implied nude or swimsuits or like something. Either way, you're going to be generally not wearing a whole lot for some of these things, and you're going to be with a complete stranger when you're doing that. And that's a really scary situation to be in, even if the person is very trustworthy. Like, I know I get a little shy when I meet someone and I'm like, okay, let me just take off my clothes. Like, it's kind of a weird scenario, and you kind of have to like work up to getting used to it. But if you are going to be working with someone that you haven't worked with before, or that you haven't worked up a complete like bonded relationship, that you haven't worked with them enough where you're completely totally comfortable, like, I know for a fact this person's not going to murder or rape me or whatever. My main tip, first of all, is communication with them. Like, thoroughly go through in conversations exactly what you want from the photo shoot or project or whatever, exactly what you're supposed to be wearing, and have expectations and make sure that they know your expectations and make sure that they give you their expectations. If you are going to do like just a fashion photo shoot, make it known I'm going to be fully clothed the entire time. I'm not going to be disrobing at any point in time. I'm not going to randomly be like, oh yeah, let's suddenly do a nude photo shoot or anything like that. Make it very perfectly clear that you are not there for that. Don't ask me about that or anything. Or if you are into that and you're going there for a nude photo shoot or something, make sure they know boundaries. Make sure that you tell them, hey, if I'm not positioned properly, let me know and guide me through it, but don't touch me. Just because you want to make sure that the shot looks good on camera. And there are cases where a photographer will be looking at you and like, hey, this doesn't look just right here. Maybe could you move your arm a little different? And that's fine, but don't expect them to come up and like physically position you, because especially in that situation where you don't know this person, it can get very uncomfortable very fast. So make sure expectations are set out, make sure communication is there. It really just depends on what your boundaries are, but obviously it is always a good idea to meet the person in a public sort of setting or venue first before going off somewhere. I know a few people who have their studios like in their actual house or like a garage or something, and that's fine. If you're not comfortable meeting them directly at their house, then just be like, hey, can we go get a cup of coffee first? That way you can kind of get a feel for them. You can meet them like on equal terms. It's something that if you don't feel comfortable, you can go ahead and be like, you know what, I'd rather not, and go and get in your car and you can leave. You don't want anything to stop that from happening. You don't want to be in a position where it's not easy for you to remove yourself if you're uncomfortable. And also, it is kind of a debated subject, but the subject of escorts, having someone with you, bringing a friend, uh, just so that you feel comfortable. Generally, I find that photographers or anyone that I'm working with is pretty understanding to that, where you say, hey, I haven't really worked with you personally yet. Is it alright if I bring a friend with me, at least for this first occasion? Generally, they're pretty understanding as long as you give them like advance notice, maybe tell them who the friend is, that way they know who to expect, and let them know, hey, this person is going to be coming with me. Because technically, it's uncomfortable for the photographer too if you just show up with an entourage or someone who they weren't expecting. I mean, it can be very uncomfortable for them, pretty much the same way that it could be uncomfortable for you. So if you show up to a meeting and say if they have someone random that they never mentioned to you, like that could be really weird. And it's the same thing goes for them. If you show up to go meet with a photographer and you suddenly have this friend with you, then they're like, wait a minute, who's this person? Why are they there? Like, so you just want to communicate and let them know if a person isn't really wanting an escort there, depending on the project. I kind of understand it, but generally, most photographers will work with you, at least for the first thing. I've done shoots with people before where I had an escort with me for the first maybe 20-30 minutes, just so that I could get a feel for the situation. And it was mostly just when like the photographer was setting up lighting and getting everything taken care of. And then I felt comfortable and I was like, okay, you can go ahead and go. That way the photographer doesn't have to worry about someone else being there and intruding for the photo shoot the whole time. But it's enough for you to get a feel and get comfortable with the situation before just diving right in. Hey, I'm at your mercy. Please don't kill me. So, yeah, public place, bring someone with you, communication. Those are definitely my tips for safe meetings. How do you build a portfolio? Pretty much, you want to think about what you want to have in your portfolio. What kind of work do you want to do? Do you want to do fashion? Do you want to do lingerie? Do you want to do nude? Do you want to do swimsuits? It really just depends on what you're interested in. If you want to do more artistic style photo shoots, then you would obviously want to have some sort of artistic style photo shoots in your portfolio. You want to show people, this is what I'm interested in doing. I've done it before. I want to get out there and do something similar to that. And you can bounce around. You don't have to have everything be the exact same. I mean, I do fashion, swimwear, lingerie, nudes, implied nudes, pretty much everything out there. But you want to make sure that if you're going to be bouncing around, you have a good example of that in your portfolio. You want to make sure that you have different things. How I originally started my portfolio is I actually had one of my best friends take a bunch of pictures with me. I knew he had a really nice camera, and I knew he would be very patient with me. I had some ideas in my head of what I wanted to do, and we just kind of made a day of it. I did some shots where I was in a swimsuit so that I would have like the bikini shots. I did some what I thought were fashion shots and just kind of threw some clothes together that I thought would look nice. I did some lingerie shots, and he just pretty much walked through helping me. Like, he wasn't like a professional photographer or anything. He was literally just a friend of mine who had a really good camera. So we went around and did a photo shoot for the entire day, and I did, I think, 9 different outfits in one day. And I'm not saying that's something that you have to do or anything like that. I'm just saying that's what I did because I wanted to get a variety of pictures in my portfolio kind of as soon as possible. So that's why I went through and did like a ton just like in one little go. And that's pretty much what I put in my portfolio for the first, like starting my Model Mayhem account and started creating my like pages and everything. That was what I had for like the longest time. And then that's when I started talking to other photographers and kind of getting more of an idea of what else to do. So you want to make sure that you take at least a good variety of pictures that are kind of similar to projects that you want to do. Make sure that you have at least 4 that you're really like proud of and you want to put out there, because the like Model Mayhem account, they do require at least 4 photos, and they have to be like, I want to say evaluated, but I don't think that they really even do anything. I think they just check to make sure you have 4 as your amount. But you want to make sure that you have those like initial pictures. Think about your brand and who you want to be, in a sense. Create a bio for yourself. Think about what you want your name to be. If you want to use your real name, if you want to have an alias, like think about these things when you're creating like your profile and your portfolio and everything. I know I changed my name. When I first started modeling, I was known as Doe-Eyed Model, which is basic enough. But I didn't really like that. It felt like too extra generic, and there's so many models out there who think of themselves as like, oh, I have doe eyes. And that just, it wasn't working for me, and my name actually is Fawn. So I was like, well, let's just throw it together. Doe-eyed Fawn, that's me. And that's who I've pretty much been ever since, I don't know, I started pretty much. But think of something like personal. Think of who you are, what kind of things you want to do. And that's just me. I don't intend on changing my name anytime soon. And I am who I am. And I wanted to base my brand around that. I didn't want to really create this persona that was fake. I wanted to be me and just be out there in public where it wasn't too much information where people are like, oh, I know exactly who you are, and know like what high school you went to, and actually be able to find out a ton of information about you. I'm sure you probably could if you looked hard enough. But I wanted to have something that I was okay with being as like my public persona and my public name. And that works for me. But if you want to use your actual full on like birth name, then go for it. Just make sure that you are okay with that and try to keep your personal and professional life kind of separate just for your own safety, because that can end up causing problems later on. Tips for photo shoot prep. So things that I always recommend before any photo shoot is to exfoliate and moisturize. It doesn't matter if you are a guy, girl, or somewhere in between or whatever. You want to make sure that you are clean, that you don't smell. You want to exfoliate and like slough off some of that like rough skin, and you want to moisturize, because when you have such a high quality camera pointed at you, they will see literally everything, every flaw, every little crack of dry skin and everything. So you want to make sure that you are moisturized, that your skin looks good. You don't want anything extra bad to happen there. I know for like female models especially, you want to make sure that if you don't have a makeup artist assigned to the project, or you don't have someone that you're going to be working with, you want to show up like ready. And pretty much what that means is whatever look you and the photographer have decided upon before the photo shoot, you want to make sure that you look like that when you show up if there isn't going to be a makeup artist there. Because the worst thing in there is to be like, oh yeah, we're going to start at 2 p.m. and you show up at 1:55 and you don't have any makeup on your face and your hair is scraggly and like up in a bun or something, and the photographer is literally ready to start taking photos, and you're like, hang on, I gotta go put on makeup for 45 minutes. Like, it's just, it's horrible. The photographer has very precious time. You don't want to waste that. You don't want to waste your time. So you want to make sure that you get ready and then go head out there. So you want to make sure that you do whatever makeup you're supposed to be doing, or if there is going to be a makeup artist but they tell you to come with foundation on your face, do whatever is instructed of you. You want to make sure that you're ready. Don't show up late whatsoever. I have never been late to a photo shoot, and I do not plan on starting anytime soon. Like I said, time is literally money in these situations, so you do not want to show up late. You would preferably want to show up early, literally like as a job interview or anything, because that is your job. You are supposed to show up when you're supposed to be there. You're supposed to show up with your hair done, your makeup done, whatever is expected of you, and show up like that. Don't be a diva. Just make sure that your skin is moisturized, you have your makeup done or your hair done, whatever. Bring a couple different outfits for options in case the photographer looks at it and is like, it's not working, go change. So those are my recommendations for prepping. Make sure your teeth are brushed. Wear lip balm at the very least. Like you said, moisture is so important. You do not want to show up with dry skin because they will show all your cracks, all your wrinkles. Last question that I have on here is, what do you bring with you? So I kind of have like a go bag actually. For whenever I do photo shoots, I make sure that I have wet wipes in case I need to touch up some of my makeup or get something grody on my hands. So I bring wet wipes, sanitizer. I always have to have at least one bottle of water. Granola bars in case I get hungry because I do not want to get up there and start grumbling and be like, oh, we need a break so I can get a burger. So I always bring at least a couple of granola bars just in case. Um, Obviously, the different wardrobe that I'm supposed to be bringing for the photo shoot, maybe a couple different options on top of those ones that were discussed. Change of shoes. If I'm supposed to be wearing high heels the entire time, my feet are going to be killing me on the ride home, so I generally bring like a pair of flip-flops with me. Lip balm, a scrunchie, pretty much anything that is going to make it so you are going to be comfortable and you have stuff in case something comes up. Bobby pins, wet wipes, sanitizer, extra makeup in case you need to do touch-ups, that sort of thing. You want to make sure that if there is like an emergency, a beauty emergency, that you can handle it and make sure that you are hydrated and you're taking care of yourself during photo shoots because it is physically exerting and you want to make sure that you're okay during the photo shoot and afterwards because it does take a lot of energy. I know it doesn't really seem like it, but it is actually physically exerting, especially if you go into very like different and unique poses. It takes a lot of muscle strength to get in those and hold them, and I find pretty much after every photo shoot I'm really sore for the next like day and a half, even though when you're doing it it doesn't really seem like it, but that's generally how I am. Maybe I'm just weak or something, but I'm always sore. So those are things that I always bring with me. And obviously, cell phone, the basics that you would normally take anywhere that you're going. So, but I do hope that this was helpful. I think I covered pretty much all the ones that I normally get asked when people are inquiring about starting modeling. I hope this was helpful, and if you are considering modeling, maybe these tips will come in handy for if you want to start building your portfolio or a profile or anything like that. Uh, oh, another like random question is a lot of people ask, how do you make money from modeling? And the biggest thing is you can get paid projects, and there are like little postings for projects in your area that are like, oh, I need someone to do this for 3 hours. It's a $200 project and everything. It'll show what they're looking for, and if you fit that type, you can generally message the person behind it and be like, hey, I'm interested in this project. Can you take a look at my portfolio, see if I might be a good fit, and let me know? And that's when you can start discussing with them if you would be a good fit for the project. And if they do want to end up hiring you for the project, normally they are able to pay you either before or after the project starts, and you can get paid that way. I've been paid for a number of different projects that I've worked on, so there's not really a consistent, like, oh, hey, I get a weekly paycheck or anything like that. It's more of just these are project to project sort of income, where it just depends on like what you're working on, how much you get paid, sort of like scenario. And you might not be able to get paid projects right away, and that's perfectly fine. I know I didn't start doing paid projects until I don't know, a couple years ago, I was so busy doing like trade for, which is like you work to do the modeling and you trade the photographer your time for the pictures that they take. And I was doing that for years, just trying to build up my portfolio, trying to work with different photographers, kind of finding who I was as a model and what I felt that I enjoyed the most. And that's perfectly fine. I know people who will take paid projects and they still do trade because there's just an idea that is so amazing. They're like, yes, I want to be part of this. I'm not going to get paid, but the picture is going to be amazing. And so that's another thing to consider. I have taken projects before where it's you get paid to kind of sort of like advertise in a way with photo shoots certain project or products, I should say, different like attire, accessories, and everything. So if you do a photo shoot like with high quality images while wearing certain things, like the company could end up paying you because you're essentially like promoting them and they're able to use the pictures for their websites and everything. I've gotten paid from stuff like that before too. So it really just depends on what you're willing to do and the projects that you get into. It's not a sort of thing where it's like, oh, I make exactly this amount every single week. It's no, you get paid for whatever projects you do. So that's pretty much how I get paid from it. If you have any more questions, feel free to put them in the comments below. And again, I hope this was helpful. And if you are starting out modeling, be careful. Take care of yourself. Don't do things literally that you're gonna regret or anything like that. Don't go into situations where they might not really be the safest. If you can, bring someone with you. Always bring water, moisturize, and just be careful and have fun. It's such a rewarding experience when you bring a project to life that you've been working on. So I hope you guys enjoy and thank you for tuning into this. Bye, guys.